now it's time to get into possibly, as everyone mentioned before, into possibly the biggest influencer of retail today, which is obviously technology. And what's even more exciting is that we have a brand new format called face-to-face, right there. Amidst rapid changes and disruptive innovation, largely driven by technology, today, more than ever, retailers are faced with the challenge to deal with the delight these highly demanding customers who are not shying away from sharing their insights and their expectations through the way they shop. Now, the big question is, are retailers doing enough to encash this high-value currency in the form of shopper insight? And this is what we're going to be discussing in our next panel. And before welcoming our esteemed panelists, I'd like to first take a moment to thank the session sponsor, Expand Retail, powered by Savant Data System. Thank you. And now, please allow me to introduce our distinguished moderator. He is the CFO of Fetcher. Having lived in the UAE for over 14 years, he has worked on a multitude of businesses across the MENA region. He has worked with Procter & Gamble, managing brands like Gillette and Pantene, and has been heavily involved in the FMCG and retail sectors. He was also heavily involved in building Careem, and now continues to build at Fetcher. As CFO, he leads the finance, business intelligence, and human resources team. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Tariq Sanad. And now, our panelists. Mr. Asli Okar, Head of Marketing, Philips Lighting, Middle East. Mr. Francesco Marghi, Country Manager and Director, The Woolmark Company. Mr. James Welton, Managing Director at AYM. Mr. Mark Thompson, Director, Retail and Hospitality, EMEA, Zebra Technologies.
Data is all around you, informing you, guiding you, connecting you. Now, we can make data work for you. Introducing Zebra Savannah, a revolutionary new data platform that takes data from every device and analyzes it all in real time, transforming information into insights. Savannah shows you a path to boost efficiency, transform workflows, and drive productivity. Data is all around you. Put it to work with Zebra Savannah.
Mr. Rajiv Prasad, Chief Innovation Officer at Expand Retail, powered by Savant Data System. Mr. TP Pratap, Chief Marketing Officer at Quicksilver Solutions. And last but not least, please forgive me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Mr. Ulugbek Yoldashev, founder and CEO of Awok.com.
Hello everybody, I'm Ulugbek Yoldashev, CEO and founder of Awok.com. I always had a dream that one day I could build a company which will serve millions of customers. As online has always been my passion since a very young age, considering I came from trading background. It has always been in my DNA, and when I came to the UAE, I realized the country had a growing number of young, tech-savvy consumers, and that is when I got an idea, and it further fueled my passion. Our vision has always been to be the preferred e-commerce channel across all locations that the company operates in, where customers are assured of effortless and seamless shopping experience. Awok started as a 3-member team, and today we have grown across the region. At Awok, we believe in innovating, creating jobs, and fulfilling customer needs. Culture, passion, efficiency, and happiness are our core values.
And now, Tarit, the panel is all yours.
Welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us today on Shopper Insight is the New Currency. Shopper Insights is a big data. There's a lot going on in that area, and we're all working on different areas of capturing that. So before we get along, I would just love to each of you to kind of introduce yourselves very briefly, and then we get on to the questions so that everybody knows who you are and what you do. Let's start with Rajiv, please.
Hi, I'm Rajiv, and I'm the Chief Innovation Catalyst for Savan Data System, Expand Retail. So we provide retail technology solutions to the retailers in the Middle East and all across the globe. We have a footprint almost in 40 countries in terms of customer base. We handle mostly the top-end retailers here in the UAE and the Middle East, as well as the duty-free across North America, Asia, and other countries. So we are more into analytics and business intelligence. So that's what we do here.
Great, thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Pratap. I'm the co-founder of this company called Quicksilver. We are the company which is evangelize and pioneer the prepaid and gift card ecosystem in this part of the world, the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and India. We just came out of the Singles Day 11/11 activity in Southeast Asia through that we had with players there for the Singles Day activity. And fundamentally what we do is in this part of the world, we work with players like in the electronic space with Sharaf DG for enabling them to launch and manage their prepaid gift card ecosystem, with Altair Group for in the similar space with Al Futtaim Group, and likewise in the Indian market with Amazon, Flipkart, and various players, fundamentally to enable them to capture data in the gifting ecosystem. That's what we are busy with.
Hello, my name is Ulugbek. I'm from Awok.com. Awok.com, that's a horizontal e-commerce. Basically, we sell all the available categories online. Main our business model is B2C. Today, Awok sells almost 80% household in UAE, and overall 75% of all the users of UAE already registered with Awok.
Hello, my name is Aslı Okar. I'm the head of marketing for Philips Lighting. Philips Lighting is a standalone Philips company, and Philips is revolutionizing the light for more than 125 years, and having the leadership of LED and connected lighting. Today we will discover how connected lighting is impacting retail altogether.
Hello, my name is Francesco Magri, coming from Italy. And I work for the Vuma company as a director of more or less South of Europe. The Vuma company is an Australian company that has to promote the merino wool worldwide. Actually, we don't sell anything. We invest in education with all the designer and fashion schools. We invest in an entire pipeline for creating innovation together with manufacturers, mills, textile producer, and spinners. And we invest in fashion with big brands for promoting merino wool and the quality of wool worldwide.
My name is James from AYM. AYM focuses on technologies and e-commerce in the MENA region. Most notably, we've brought the supermarket chain Danube online in Saudi Arabia. So not just the app and web and e-commerce experience, but all marketing, operations, fulfillment, and logistics. So all the headaches.
Good afternoon, Mark Thompson from Zebra Technologies. I'm Director of Retail and Hospitality for my sins. So I spend a lot of time in shops and restaurants and hotels. What could be better? It's great to be back in the Middle East, especially at Middle East Retail Forum. For those of you who don't know about Zebra Technologies, or Zebra as my American colleagues call it, effectively we are a connectivity and visibility company. You may have thought of us as a hardware company for mobile computers, mobile printers, printers for barcode labels, etc. But if you think about what they do for your business, they provide information about items, information about people. In fact, we're probably the cause of a lot of this big data that's going around in terms of what we capture and how we provide it to the retailers.
Great. Well, welcome everybody. So the first question I'd like to throw out there on the table is really online versus physical retail. We've just had a weekend of White Friday, and we've had a huge sale as well at the same time. So this is the next challenge, and how do these channels actually start to work together? So the question is, online versus physical retail, how do these channels work together?
I don't think it's a versus. I think it's online and physical retail working together, and in fact, I think as we go forward in the UK, we've got nearly 20% of retail is now coming through the online channel, but actually that's not through pure plays. That's through mainly retailers that existed before. So it's a collaboration of the channels, and in fact, I think very shortly we won't see a difference between the two. It'll just be retail. That's how these are different ways we reach out to the customer and allow the customer to buy from us. So it's not a battle.
Yeah, I think in our case, when we created the new app for this chain of supermarkets, a lot of people said that you wouldn't have any adoption, or people wouldn't want it, that grocery shopping in Saudi was a weekly event or was a ritual, and nobody would be interested. But we saw quite a lot of adoption, and I think it still has its place, but particularly when you forget the toilet paper, or when there's something that's an inconvenience, so you want many boxes of order, or you need to schedule out for the week. It's been I think the free time that was there, it's become more commoditized, and has more things to do. So the experience that we're seeing more in supermarkets, it always has its place, but I think for set number of items that want to go, they want to see it, they want to feel it, and have that time to go around. But a lot of the necessities, they're beginning to shift online and do it. So I've kind of seen that relationship between the two. So definitely we see a lot of predictable items that are purchased through online and see trends, but it's been more as people have needed these conveniences.
Ulrich, I think you have a huge experience there.
Okay. So when it comes to customer behavior, right? It is what we call it. It is customer is transforming, or industrial revolution, whatever we'll call. In the end, it's the customer behavior is changing time to time. So we have seen this throughout the years, where the customer was shifting from supermarket concept to hypermarket to the malls. So now as consumer is shifting to e-commerce, which is digital economy, right? Because people used to eat today, that our smartphones, it is our life. I don't think so that we can go outside without our smartphones. It's impossible today, right? Why it's like that? Back, if you look like, let's say 5 years or 10 years back, we didn't have even smartphone, and everything was okay, right? Everything was growing. So that's the way the behavior comes. When the people become busy, so they start to changing their behavior, and shopping online, it is another impact of that behavior, right? And we want, the retailers wants or not, that the people will be shifting to online. Digital economy will be growing. I know that in the Middle East it's only 1.5%, 2%, but we believe that within 3 to 4 years we'll see the huge growth on that area. We'll be hitting like 5 to 10% easily. So that's where it is between, there is a difference. First, it's a behavioral, and the second part in terms of the data, right? Because today is the shopper insight as a new currency. So probably the e-commerce is the best platform to analyze the customer behavior. Due to which one, today it is accuracy is much higher in e-commerces compared to the offline businesses with retailers. So I believe that this is only transformation between the consumer behavior.
Rajiv, you have a huge experience, right?
As an analytics company, what we've observed that, we can categorize the consumers into three major categories. One are purely the ones, who prefer going to the store and buying. The others are the ones, who would do only online business. Who would just buy online. And the third category of customers is where they do a lot of research online. They go to the online e-commerce stores. They get the prices. They compare the pricing, and then finally they go to the brick and mortar store. So, I have not seen a clear transition with all the data that we've captured, that there is any clear win-win for any of these. Okay, though e-commerce is growing faster, okay, but you still have the traditional way of, people going, touching and feeling the product and doing a lot of other things. So I believe that, they would coexist. Obviously the shares would, move around, but I think there are points, when people would like to go and touch and feel and things. And there are people, who for convenience sake, they would go online and buy things. So I feel, the online to offline transition would be, there would be probably an equilibrium that we would see eventually. Okay, and then that's how, I see the future based on all the data that we've captured and the analysis that we've done.
Right, and Pratap, you are working with two different kinds of retailers yourself, and you said Sharaf DG, etc. How do you see that?
Yeah, as the panelists earlier have said, it's not a versus situation. It's not one versus the other. We've witnessed over the last couple of years where the offline players have gone online, the online players have gone offline, as even the BCG session this morning said, where consumers as well as brands are realizing that they need to make themselves present at the point where the consumer wants them. So not just an offline brand needs to be present, provide an online experience. And by online, it's meant to be, it could be a mobile app, could be an e-commerce play, it could be a mobile responsive site, it could be an offline play. The consumer is expecting a seamless experience across all these form factors. And where we come in this place is where an offline player, we have had the privilege of sitting on the ringside from a cricketing analogy, been at the non-strikers and watching the game being played by the batsmen. How many of us follow cricket here? And where in the industry we've had instances, so this actually varies across sectors. We work with about 25 different consumption sectors, right from fast fashion to high-end hospitality, to electronics retail, to department stores. And the shift towards online varies from market to market. Probably this part of the world, the Middle East, might be slower off the block. Other parts of the world have been faster off the block. There could have been various triggers. The drivers could have been pure discounts being offered by players or the convenience. A market like India, where the sheer size of the market being so huge, the e-commerce players have just had the advantage of being able to reach out to the hinterlands of India, where the consumer sitting in a tier 3, tier 4 towns in those markets weren't having the opportunity to experience the brand in those in their neighborhood. That's where the e-commerce players could come in. But in this part, in the Middle East, it's probably going to be that much tougher because the established retail is that much more preferred. The markets are far more compact, so it could be there. But where we step in is now through the gift card prepaid ecosystem. We provided analytics to retailers. So a cinema experience, how would somebody be able to get onto an online play, gift an online experience to a cinema individual through the gift card of a Novo Cinemas, or if I have to gift my friend an electronics experience, I'd rather than actually going to a physical retail store of that particular brand and gifting an actual mobile phone, be it an iPhone or be it a television for his or her birthday or anniversary. That's where the brand is able to get into an omni-channel experience through its gift card ecosystem. Sharaf DG has a presence in the offline world and the online world through their gift card space. And not just that, what we've seen is that consumers are today transacting outside of the ecosystem of the retailer. A retailer is very well versed with managing its shoppers and consumers within their own ecosystem, but there are consumers saying, hey, I want to purchase your product outside of your ecosystem. How do you do that? So data points us that 60% of consumers say that they want to access the brand outside of the brand stores. So that's where the omni-channel presence, not just within the brand's omni-channel, be it an e-commerce play or the physical retail. Can a brand be present at an AWOC? Can it be present on an Amazon? Can it be present at an eBay? Can it be present at a souk? I could be a cinema experience brand. I could be a department store brand. So that's where this kind of consumers are kind of expecting this. And an online versus offline is going to be changing to an online with an offline plus an omni-channel presence over time.
Great, thank you.
I think the online piece gives you a different dynamic, and we've already talked. So we talked a little bit about the stores giving you the ability to touch and feel and actually interact with a person as well. Online gives you the ability to see a whole wide variety very quickly. And if you look at some of the statistics that came out recently, in the US, over 50% of all retail journeys start on Amazon. So, but not 50% end up on Amazon. So I think what we've got there is a view that says online is great for me to start my journey, to do my research, to find out information, and Ulugbek's absolutely right. It gives the retailers the ability to analyze customer behavior, to see what they're looking at, to see what else they buy, and they can kind of coax that with upsell and cross-sell opportunities. Stores have their own advantages, which is why we're seeing retailers rethink the purpose of the store. So it's no longer simply a place where you pile goods in and expect customers to have to search through things. The store is now more of a showcase. Look at Nordstrom. They have moved from 15,000 square foot stores and are now starting to look at local stores. Habitat, IKEA, doing exactly the same, bringing smaller store formats, much more as a way of allowing customers to come in, experience the brands that they're selling, and then buy them elsewhere. And as long as the customer is buying from that retail brand, so IKEA, for example, or John Lewis or whoever, then the retailer should be happy. But it might drive a different set of KPIs for retailers, because if they're not buying from that physical square footage of store, do you want to measure KPIs such as sales per square foot? I don't know.
It's a very challenging question, and also just beyond e-commerce, there's a lot of change on the online space. So, Francesco, with the Walmart company, there is a lot of inspiration by global designers using social media, the see now, buy now kind of phenomenon. Do you leverage those different channels with the Walmart company to track futuristic trends? And how do you utilize that to, merge the two?
Where to get a trend is probably the most wanted secret that everyone wants to know, because it's like the key of the success. But there's not a rule, because creative directors, the one who does the collection in Gucci, Alessandro Michele, or also in the smaller brands, they just live outside. So they just go in bars, they just go in concerts, they just look at people. And of course the social media are important, because Facebook is the biggest editor now. It's absolutely bigger than Condé Nast or whatever. Why? Because I think that if we raise our hands, probably every one of us has a Facebook account. But how many people here has a Vogue copy in-house? So we get the information from Facebook, from social media, and we get the information that we want to know. So that's the reason why we read the information on Facebook, because Facebook push in our account, they know us better than us. So they know what we like, because we like pictures, we like people, we like news. So it's a direct mailing, one of the most important direct mailing tools that we have now in the world. So having a look to the social media, it is important, because you can get a lot of information. But the trends are coming from brains and not coming from social media. So you need someone able to understand which are the inspirations from all the different tools, all the different where people go, what people drink. I remember I started my career in Levi's working as a cool hunter. Big word, cool hunter, you know. It seems that I was the guru. No, I was not the guru. I was asked to understand what people was doing. And so I used to go in bars, and I've seen that people were moving from vodka to wine. So it means that probably they want to increase more the taste of quality or the pleasure to talk instead of drinking cocktails. So where do we get trends? We get trends through the people that are living in the social media, but living in the social life. So it's really, really important that in your companies, also in my companies, you have people that are dedicated, because creativity comes from relax. Doesn't come from, you cannot budget the creativity, you can budget sales, you know, but to have the right inspiration, you need someone that is relaxed, has time to think about it, and has time to enjoy life and tell you what the other people are doing.
Well, that's great. Actually, and it kind of leads on to my next question to you, Asli, and goes back to what Mark was saying, where the retail store now, its purpose is maybe changing, and you know, Philips has been working on innovation in lighting, right? So how does that enhance your shopper experience, and how do you use data to understand how people move and shop inside the store, and what do they do?
Yeah, thank you. Briefly, let me explain, first of all, two mega trends which are impacting the behavior and the shopper experience. Number one is the connectivity, so Internet of Things. According to McKinsey's study, there will be 50 billion devices connected, and there will be 5 billion smart users using it by 2025. So the world is getting connected, and retail will be very much impacted. It will be in the top 3 sectors, according to McKinsey, and mainly on the areas of location-based promotions, area checkouts, layout optimization, and etc., etc. The second important trend is, of course, a new generation is coming, millennials. Today, millennials are around 20 and 30 years old. But by 2020, they will represent the 30% of the US economy in terms of sales. And millennials are different. They were born with internet, they were born with digitalization, social media, and so on and so on. So their behavior and their demands are different than on the retail. Just to give you some small information about millennials, by 2020, they will be spending $1.35 trillion of sales only in US. And they love, 58% of them, of the millennials, they love to shop. And before, while they're even in store, 33% of them check the price online. But still, 82% of them, they wanna shop in a store, only if it's fun and entertaining. So the requirements from a store is also changing. So what we do in lighting is, of course, we are in the store, but we are working with connectivity. So once, and 90% of the sales is, by the way, today is happening in the store. And putting this information aside, when consumers are entering a store, it's more like a black box. So we don't know what they are doing, where they're orientated, what they're interested, or are they happy, unhappy, we don't know that. But according to another study again, when consumers are in a store, 7% of them abandon sale and leave the store if they cannot find the product that they were looking for. Or 9% of them, they look to another shop. So that means 16% of a sales is lost when a customer or a consumer, if they cannot find a product on the store. And 56% of them are looking for assistance. So have to use a tool with their device or where to find the product itself and so on, and they get frustrated because they cannot find what they're looking for, or they don't know how to use it. However, 8 out of 10 people in a store, they have their smartphones together. So they are so mobile connected, but they cannot use it. So what we do in Philips Lighting is we offer indoor positioning solutions. What we give is a visible light communication. So what does it mean? When you enter a store, the lighting infrastructure is already there. So you need light in a store to create the ambience and create good quality light. But what we use is we use luminaires that they use a light code that is sending, that the luminaire is sending, that can be detected by a smartphone camera. So with this application, the luminaire can understand where that person is. So we can locate that person within the store. So if we also know 2 luminaires, so if the light is communicating with, the luminaire is communicating to the consumer through 2 luminaires, then we can also understand the orientation, because we can have 2 light points coming. That means, thanks to visible light communication, we can locate the person in a store, and then we can also understand where it's looking at with an accuracy of 30 centimeters. So imagine you're in a store and you want to find what you're looking for, and you just want to leave out very fast, and you don't know which aisle to go. In this application, together with visible light communication, with the app that we work, you can easily find your way in a store. And if it's embedded in with other sub-applications, the retailer can even initiate promotions or games, treasure hunt to make shopping more fun and entertainment. So we can both work on convenience, finding a way, easy access to what you're looking for, or entertaining, or data information to the retailer by heat maps and so on.
And do we see a lot of retailers tracking that data, Rajiv? I mean, this is quite complex and quite sophisticated in how it works. It does make sense, obviously, but I do wonder: are retailers really taking those pieces of data when they introduce technologies of this sort, or are they just looking at different metrics inside a store?
I don't think all the retailers right now are empowered to do that. What I have seen that the retailers currently are overwhelmed with the amount of data that they're receiving. I mean, every part of the store is sending some data. I mean, the aisles are sending some data, the shelves are sending some data, the entrances are sending some data, the stocks are sending some data. So you have a tremendous amount of data that is being collected by the retailers. Now, with this data in place, I mean, there are a few retailers in this region, who are capable of, taking some actionable, conclusions or making some actionable decisions based on the information that they are receiving. But then most of the retailers, what I have observed, have been overwhelmed with the amount of data that they're receiving. So we need some way of, presenting the data in a more visual way, more meaningful way, rather than, just overwhelming them with a lot of numbers. Like, for example, there's a buzzword going on in the market regarding heat maps. Every meeting that I have with my retailers, I ask them, how do you make meaning out of the heat maps that you get? I mean, what decisions do you make by looking at a heat map? And surprisingly, I mean, I hardly get any answers back. So, I mean, we are talking about, IoTs, we are talking about, generating a lot of data, we're talking about big data, business intelligence, but how are we actually interpreting those numbers? Are we really taking those numbers, converting them to real business decisions, trying to change our business operations? I mean, we've seen people getting data, but they don't have the bandwidth to change their business operations, or they don't have the bandwidth to make any operational level changes within their organization. So how do we interpret the data? How do we actually use that data to make some changes in the organization? So I mean, there's been a lot of buzzword, okay, but then we need to empower the retailers to take this information and take some decision based on it, rather than just looking at fancy numbers, fancy graphs, and heat maps, because the heat map needs to make some sense, okay, to a retailer. And obviously, I mean, the top retailers out here, they have a team of business analysts, a team of experts who are analyzing the data, giving some feedback to the business owners. But then again, we still are a long way, to take all that big data and make some meaning out of it. So we need to work on that. That is my...
I think on the on the actionable point there, and it's right in the heat map one, other than like, I don't know what actionable steps you have out of it, other than like put all the most expensive items in the like most crowded place. But as Mark was saying about changing of KPIs, like in online, obviously, we can do something that stores can't, which is personalization. So with us, we collect millions and millions of data points each month, like data coming out our ears. And we've moved from a place where our target has been to create a consistent and enjoyable experience, which to the end consumer is novel, it's new, it's enjoyable, to creating the optimum one, where we're not just tracking their behavior in app, what they're looking at, what they've removed from cart, or what they've added their cart or removed, and then retargeting information on it or personalizing the homepage, which other retailers can't do. And even to the extent where we're looking at how we acquire a customer. If we acquire them on Facebook, what demographic have we targeted? If they're 25 to 34, have this job, that all plays into how we start serving content. So there's many things that we can do there, and I think people run the risk of having a very curated experience for customers, that there's some, I think on topics like discovery are the things that they can only do in person, which is where the importance comes in more to the store, that they'll want to go there, and you'll have two very dramatically different experiences. And I think then on the challenges in store, as they talked about millennials, and speaking as a millennial, I can confirm we do like to shop, but the challenges then around if a product isn't in stock or finding it in store. So I see that they've competed in one place from a consistency of experience, but obviously tech can move faster. It's a lot easier for us to show different products on a home screen than it is for a retailer to ensure that all products are laid out in a certain way across all the branches. So I'd agree with this like difference of KPIs, and particularly with online, the ability to being in a much stronger place to enact on that data.
And one of the other things that we didn't really touch upon is how does the human touch come in to the whole experience, whether it be online or offline. And I think, Pratap, you work quite closely with that, if I'm right. How do you leverage that data to give a happy customer?
See, from our perspective and experience that we have witnessed across segments, across nations, one very clear aspect which every brand, every retailer, every organization is very clear about is strategy has got to be in place. So the strategy is chalked out, very clearly documented, but subsequent to that, it's the culture within the organization. The organizational culture which really percolates down right from the top down or bottom up, that really reflects how much of the strategy gets down to implementation and execution. As the saying goes that culture can have strategy for breakfast, lunch and dinner. Now, the analytics and data and insights can help provide dessert to add to the breakfast, lunch and dinner. So we do have organizations who are across the spectrum who are very clear that they want to have that, and players like us help organizations in getting the data that they require as to when did the consumer walk in, did the consumer come into your store or was it the online store, at what point in time, when did he or she translate that particular business, you offered so-and-so promotion, are you going to give a one-size-fits-all promotion to every consumer, or is there any insight by which you can decide that so-and-so consumer is going to be happier with a promotional offer on so-and-so category at so-and-so time of day or night. There are consumers happier shopping post-midnight, which might be sacrilege in certain parts of the world or in certain categories. But so how do you address that consumer, be it millennial, be it old men, be it people who are hard on sleep, but there are consumers who want to watch a movie at so-and-so time of day, time of night, and can a brand incentivize be present at that particular point in time? So there are these catchphrases that I want to catch a consumer new. So what metrics talk about what percentage of my consumer is a new consumer, what percentage of my business comes from existing consumers? Yeah, there are metrics which say that X percentage of business should come from my loyal consumer, yes. So how do I execute that? How do I ensure that this consumer who has purchased me or avail of my service for whatever reason, for the good, bad and ugly of my services, has walked into my store or my e-commerce store and transacted with me? What do I do with him or her subsequently? How do I convert that consumer into an advocate for me as a brand? Advocate meaning not just for him or her to buy me as well, but probably recommend me to another consumer. So we do have data provided to brands which say that 60% of consumers who have transacted with you once are willing to turn advocates for your brand. But are you able to translate that advocacy willingness of your consumer into action?
And Ogilbeck, I mean, a big part of the values of the company AWOC is the whole happiness journey. And you get a lot of online data. How do you translate that insight into happiness for your consumer?
Okay, because I'm just hearing about that the retailers are talking, how they are monitoring, because I had also one more question, because what about the privacy of these people? Because when you're monitoring, because when it comes to online, that's all the data which is we collect, it's hashed data, which means we don't know who is this person. We only know the insights and behavior. So, but when it comes to the retail, that cameras which is looking to me, right, which controls me through the app or which looks to me, that I'm scared to go for any retail show. Because in the end, they knows me, exactly who I am, right? And I don't know who is sitting on the backside, that analytic guy, who is he? So he monitors my family, my kids, what they're doing it, and I mean, I think so this is not so safe. But when it comes into the online, the good part is that you collect data and you hash the data, which is very much control the privacy of the person who is visiting the website. And as well as that, you will know the real actionable data. And action can be taken a lifetime. So which means, like, let's say if you go to the website can change totally shape, right? Or it can change the product which is listed for you. It can reduce prices or increase prices depending on your behavior. It can give you free deliveries, or it can give you the coupon or discount, which is happening instantly, right? And it is for you. That's where is the power of online. And this data, when we are taking an action, it takes through the algorithms. The machine is doing. There is no human behind who's analyzing this data and sitting and looking, right? So this is the good part of online. And the online, I think so, it is very much powerful on utilizing data, understanding customer behavior, and as well as taking action and immediately getting feedback, is this action is working or not, and do the correction on spot, right? So this is the part I believe that the online is very good.
I'm sorry to cut in. I can see a lot of points to discuss. We're just running a bit late. We have just a little less than 5 minutes.
All right. So on that note, let me find an interesting question which we can all talk about. So we talked about the quick human element part of it. But what about the growth of self-service automation? I was just in a cinema last night where there was nobody at the counter. I had to pay everything on a screen. And how do we feel that, you know, the kind of, it's not really online, it's not really physical anymore, it's just digital. And how that's changing the environment. Mark, you have a big experience in that area.
So I think there is a danger in treating all customers the same. So if you start to think about building your model and thinking, I'm going to shift everything towards self-service, you will alienate a proportion of your shoppers. When Tesco went for self-checkouts, they were questioned about, oh, are you going to move everything to self-checkouts because you want to get rid of staff, it's lower cost for you? And the answer was no. We're going to have a proportion of self-checkouts. We're going to have a proportion of staff checkouts. We're actually going to have a proportion of scan as you shop as well, so shoppers can actually scan as they're walking around the store. Because a store is full of lots of different types of people. So some things will be automated. I'll give another good example, Shell, what they're doing at the moment in terms of their journey towards, I guess, the energy hub of the future, because it's probably not going to be fuel as we know it in the long run. And what they're talking about is recognizing the fact that there are fill-up-and-go customers. So what do they mean by that? They mean those customers who don't necessarily want to go into a store, they don't necessarily want to buy other products in the store, they just want to get fuel for their vehicle and move off as quickly as possible. So for them, and that's a category for them, they've created a system whereby in some cars, and Jaguars are one of them, you can actually pay from your car. So you've preloaded your card details into your car, on your car, the app within the car, and as you drive up to the pump, it recognizes which pump you're at, and then once you've filled up, you simply tap the screen, and that's you paid, and you can drive off. So it may feel a bit uncomfortable because it's a transition, but that then frees up time in the store for those customers who do want to be in the store. Because if you look at the research, customers, even if they wanted to shop in the store, if they walk into the forecourt and they see a queue of people paying for their fuel, they'll actually go straight to pay. They won't buy other things in the store. And actually, they want to encourage them to buy. So if you can actually free that up by getting rid of the fill-up-and-go customers, you create a better experience for the rest of the customers. So I do see automation, I do see self-service absolutely playing a part, but I think it's an element of the store, it's not the whole of the store.
Great. Well, on that note, I just wanted to say thank you. We're obviously living in a world of change, and all of this data is going to help us move through it, be it on the human side, be it on the online side, be it on the physical side. So thank you.